Today, we've got a special treat for you. We're debunking some common misconceptions about World War II. From the real largest amphibious assault to the lesser-known D-Days, we're diving deep into the pages of history. Before we get started, if you enjoy unraveling historical myths, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Without further ado, let's begin. Now, let's set the record straight. When we think about World War II and massive amphibious assaults, the first thing that comes to mind for many is D-Day, right? I mean, it was an absolutely monumental operation, no doubt about it. However, there's a little-known fact that might surprise you. D-Day wasn't actually the largest amphibious assault in history. That title belongs to the Battle of Leyte Gulf in the Pacific. Yes, we're shifting our focus from the shores of Normandy to the sunny beaches of the Philippines. Leyte Gulf, which took place in October 1944, was a colossal operation that involved the United States and its allies launching an amphibious assault on the island of Leyte. This battle was part of the larger campaign to liberate the Philippines from Japanese occupation. Picture this. Over 200,000 American and Filipino troops landed on the shores of Leyte, making it the largest amphibious assault in history. D-Day, with its 156,000 troops, was indeed massive, but it falls short when compared to the sheer scale of the Leyte Gulf invasion. Now, you might be wondering, why don't we hear about Leyte Gulf as much as D-Day? Well, the European theatre tends to get more attention in popular culture, but Leyte Gulf was a crucial turning point in the Pacific War. It marked the beginning of the end for Japanese naval dominance as the US scored a decisive victory. Don't get me wrong, D-Day was a monumental event and a turning point for the Allies in Europe. The successful invasion of Normandy played a crucial role in the downfall of Nazi Germany. But when it comes to the largest amphibious assault in history, Leyte Gulf takes the crown. Before we continue, help us get to our first milestone of 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Let's get back to the rest of the video. One common misconception is that every German soldier was a card-carrying member of the Nazi Party, fully committed to Hitler's ideology. The truth is, not all German soldiers were Nazis. In fact, a significant number of them were conscripted into the Wehrmacht, the German armed forces, and had no choice in their military service. Many were ordinary citizens who found themselves drafted into the war. It's crucial to recognize that the German military, especially early in the war, was composed of a mix of conscripts, volunteers, and career soldiers. While some soldiers were undoubtedly ardent supporters of the Nazi regime, many others were not. Picture this. A young German man in the 1930s, perhaps drafted during the conscription campaigns, finds himself in uniform. He might not have been a Nazi, he might not have believed in Hitler's ideology, but he was obligated to serve his country. The Wehrmacht, like any other military force, was diverse in its composition. There were soldiers with varying political beliefs, and some even opposed the Nazi regime. To generalize that all German soldiers were Nazis oversimplifies a complex historical reality. It's also worth noting that after the war, during the Nuremberg trials, not every German soldier was charged with war crimes or crimes against humanity. Many were found to have been following orders without necessarily embracing the Nazi ideology. Now, does this mean we should absolve all German soldiers of any responsibility? Of course not. War is a complicated and morally challenging environment, and individuals must be held accountable for their actions. However, it's crucial to acknowledge the nuance and diversity within the German military during World War II. When we think about World War II and the atrocities committed during that time, the Holocaust immediately comes to mind. However, a widely held misconception is that the full extent of the Holocaust was known to the general public during the war itself. Contrary to popular belief, the systematic genocide of millions of Jews and others was not widely known during the war. News about the Holocaust wasn't splashed across the headlines, and the horrifying details weren't readily available to the public. It wasn't until Allied forces began liberating concentration camps that the world truly understood the scale and brutality of the Holocaust. As the Allies advanced through Europe, they uncovered the grim reality of the atrocities committed by the Nazis. Imagine the shock and horror as Allied soldiers stumbled upon concentration camps like Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen, and Dachau. The scenes they encountered were beyond comprehension: emaciated survivors, mass graves, and the haunting evidence of systematic extermination. So, why wasn't the information about the Holocaust widely known during the war? Well, the Nazis went to great lengths to conceal their atrocities. They operated the extermination camps in remote locations, and they used coded language to obfuscate the true nature of their actions. Additionally, the Nazis were masters of propaganda, manipulating information to control public perception. They downplayed reports of mass killings and portrayed concentration camps as mere labor or resettlement camps. It wasn't until the war drew to a close and the Allies painstakingly gathered evidence that the true horror of the Holocaust was revealed to the world. Trials like Nuremberg exposed the extent of Nazi crimes, and survivors began to share their testimonies. Understanding that the full scope of the Holocaust wasn't widely known during the war is crucial for appreciating the challenges faced by those fighting against Nazi tyranny, and for comprehending the shock that the world experienced as the truth unfolded. One of the first images that often comes to mind is the mushroom cloud rising over Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. The atomic bombings were undeniably significant events, but did they truly mark the definitive end of the war? The answer is no. While the atomic bombs hastened the end of the war with Japan, the official conclusion came later, with the signing of the Japanese Instrument of Surrender on September 2, 1945, aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. Japanese officials, in the presence of Allied leaders, formally surrendered and brought an end to hostilities in the Pacific. This ceremony marked the official conclusion of World War II. But here's another twist that often goes unnoticed. While Japan and the Allied powers signed surrender agreements, there was no formal peace treaty between Japan and the Soviet Union. Despite the fact that both nations ceased hostilities, they never officially signed a peace agreement to end their state of war. The lack of a formal peace agreement between Japan and the Soviet Union adds an interesting layer to the complexities of the post-war era. This situation persisted until well into the Cold War period. So, the atomic bombings were pivotal moments in World War II, but they were not the absolute endpoint. The war officially concluded with the signing of the Japanese Instrument of Surrender, and the absence of a peace agreement between Japan and the Soviet Union adds an intriguing footnote to the history books. When we think about D-Day, our minds often go straight to the beaches of Normandy, the largest amphibious assault in history. It was a game changer, but here's the twist. Normandy wasn't the only D-Day. On August 15, 1944, just a couple of months after the Normandy landings, another significant D-Day took place, Operation Dragoon. This was the Allied invasion of southern France. Thousands of Allied troops storming the beaches of the French Riviera, not in the north, but in the south. Operation Dragoon was a joint effort by American, British, Canadian, and French forces to liberate southern France from German occupation. Now, why is this often overshadowed by the events in Normandy? Well, the Normandy landings were on an unparalleled scale and had a profound impact on the outcome of the war. However, Operation Dragoon was no less important. It played a crucial role in opening up a second front in Western Europe and contributed significantly to the overall success of the Allied advance. Operation Dragoon was a strategic masterpiece involving airborne landings, amphibious assaults, and coordinated ground operations. It allowed the Allies to secure key ports and transportation routes in southern France, paving the way for the liberation of the entire country. So, the next time someone mentions D-Day, remember that it's not exclusive to Normandy. It's a term that encompasses various amphibious assaults across different theaters of the war, each playing a vital role in the defeat of Nazi Germany. If you found these insights fascinating, give the video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and let us know in the comments which myth surprised you the most. Don't forget to subscribe for more historical deep dives. Until next time, thanks for watching.